listen to my archives. Very difficult decision to pick about 100 pictures out of 60,000. So there's bits and pieces of stuff I've taken or collected over the years, and hopefully the captions will tell you what each picture is, but if not, I've got brief notes here, and so just enjoy it, and if you've got any questions, then by all means ask. You can ask as we're going along. I'm sure Anne won't mind, and then we'll
just kind of block out some of the noise.
They won't close all the way?
I think they went open a little bit so people know they can come in.
they leave it open because some people come late.
They don't want to close it all the way.
I'll start then.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Right, well that's self-explanatory, obviously. So you can
Are you ready? You
click
gotta
away.
say
Yeah.
next for me.
Most of you will be familiar with these original pictures that what's his name now? I haven't got it on there. Anyway, these pictures were Philip II of Spain sent Hidalgo to do the fauna and flora in the Central America, and that was 1570 to 1577. These are the sketches of Dahlias. I think there's some more, and they were not published until 1651 in Rome, because he was well gone by then. But you see these, oh, I see the captions across and
Yeah.
not, never mind.
The first pictures published.
Well, the caption should be underneath, you see, but never mind, we'll carry on. Thank you, Anne. Oh, there you are. That's the start of Dahlias as we knew in Europe. I don't know about the States, but then Europe started, as you can see, late 1800. This basically takes you through to 1900. And England was lagging behind most other European countries, but we got there in the end. So that's just gives you an idea of what they did over the 100 years. Thank you, Anne. Now you can see that was one of the first. Dahlia pinnata, which is a species, was what was grown was sent from Mexico by the Spanish, who had conquered that area, of course, to Europe, and then the Spanish gradually distributed dahlias throughout Europe. And this was one of the first ones that they grew. So, thank you.
Can you go back to the very first slide? Was that the very original?
Sorry?
The very first slide, was that the original Dahlia that came from Mexico?
Pinnata. Oh,
Is that the original?
these are
from
the
Mexico?
original sketches that Hernandez, it was, not Hidalgo.
Thank you.
Hernandez did with Philip II of Spain, had sent him to record the flora and fauna of the Central America, mainly Mexico. And as I said, they weren't actually published until Rome in 1651. for some reason. That was the one before was the first one we had in England. It wasn't successful to start with because they didn't know how to look after them in the winter. And they were sent from Spain, the English ambassador, Lord Holland, his wife sent seed from Spain to their place in London, but they weren't successful in really looking after them, so it took a little while, about 3 or 4 years, before somebody knew how to grow them. So
that looks like an anemone, and that was an early Dahlia.
Sorry, I'm very deaf. And
I'm sorry. That looks to me like one of today's anemone.
Yeah, it does. You can see what it says underneath, and I think it was a sort of coccinia in those days, which of course we grow now with orange and red and yellow. Carry on.
Would that have continued on, or is what we have today a derivative back to that form?
Well, of course, they're still growing wild in parts of Mexico. I don't know when Americans, the USA, started to grow dahlias, because you were next door. But of course, there were border disputes, and you had to get rid of Santa Ana before you took over parts of California, and so I don't know how that. But again, this is another Dahlia pinnata. And of course, when they crossbred these species, they began to get the hybrids. So, thank you. This is the first formal decorative that came on the scene, called Dahlia superflua, and I'm talking about Europe, of course, now, and the UK. So the UK had caught up with Europe, and we were then all experimenting with dahlias being such a new thing. It wasn't until about 1830 that the UK established what they called show dahlias, which were ball-shaped. We'll come on to some of those in a minute. Thank you, Anne. There you are. There's an early anemone flower. You see the date there. There's a group of these early pictures where they were crossbreeding and experimenting. It was also new. Dahlias were, compared with other things that were about in, Tudor times or before, dahlias were something and we still are, of course. We're getting new forms now, so thank you. Now this is an interesting book. You can see what it is. And it's amazing to me that they published something like, they did black and white, but there's something like 50 coloured pictures, and they're all ball dahlias. For the first almost 100 years, the only dahlias, apart from single, that were acceptable in shows, believe it or not, were ball-shaped. And they were called show dahlias in those days, later to become two types, show and fancy. Show dahlias were self-coloured, and fancy were splashed and bicolours, all that sort of thing. So you'll see a few of the coloured ones. Whether they're accurate or not is another matter. But they were all around in the early 1835 onwards. Hebe was one of the most popular. But I think this is quite incredible considering 1836. You can look up the Dahlia Register online, of course, any of these. I've just put a few together for you to see. So. They were beautifully done. I think it's incredible.
1835.
I haven't put the black and white ones in because we're limited for time. So.
I'm watching how people are taking pictures, so I'm just watching. That's why I'm not advancing yet. Ready?
So-
Are you guys ready? They're taking pictures, so I didn't advance too quickly. Papa cared.
This had two names, as you can see. Waterloo, not long after the battle, 1815. So this was 1835.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Some early prints of Dahlias, 1840, as you can see. They were, you know, pretty good when you look at them and the colours and everything. I thought they did very well in those days. Of course, they were crossbreeding with the species, and then this used to be a class of Dahlias in the 1800s, believe it or not. Now we put them on the scrap heap, of course, but but people grew single cactus dahlias, and that's the best picture I could find. But now the gentleman that well, I haven't got it here, but we'll come on to a couple of American authors. Thank you, Anne. This looks like a decorative, and I think it is, but apparently it was the forerunner of cactus dahlias. And I think it's an incredible picture. And so we're to believe this is where cactus came from, Jurassii. Then you have other types of dahlias, but they weren't necessarily allowed into the shows. These are bouquet, of course, 1886, you can see. Now, one of your ladies, Mrs. Charles Stout, I've actually got an original book, and she was a great authority. I think before she married, she was Betty somebody. But anyway, this is her book, and it was published in London. I expect there was some in America as well. So, thank you. These are some of the pictures she had in the book. The lovely Peony Gertrude Dahl. Dahl being the name dahlias were given in most countries. And you're correct, you Americans, to call them dahlias because it was Dahl that they were named after. We call them dahlias, as you know, but strictly speaking, you are correct.
Did you say tomorrow?
Duplex. Now, Morgan T. Riley was also 1947, just after the last war, or the last, let's say, major war, and he was an authority, and he was quick off the mark after the war, and you'll see a few pictures that he had in his book. Thank you, Anne. You can run through them, dear. That was the Dahlia pinnata again.
Oh, sorry. Did you want that picture?
Orchid flowering. most widely grown cactus. Collarets they had, 1947.
Wow.
Largest dahlia ever grown, Murphy's masterpiece. 1947, the picture. I think it's pretty fair. It is a large one, giant, I should say. We've had a few since, like Croydon Masterpiece and Emery Paul and Inland Dynasty and those, but that was pretty good.
Would you mind going back one so I can get this? Sure.
Now-
Hold on. We had a request to go back up.
Sorry?
We had a request to back up.
Thank you, I got it.
Okay. Now, there you go.
This was a nursery in Sussex in England, which Riley must have got pictures from, and these are what they grew in dwarf dahlias. They're not as common in the UK even now as they are in the show Europe. Mignon, but obviously in those days they went to town on dwarf dahlias. Thank you. This is a proper show dahlia, and Turner 1871, they then termed them show and fancy, so they'd mixed the self colours with the splashes and bicolours. And this was a picture from George Gordon, who sometime in around about 1912 was president of the National Dahlia Society. This was one of the first cactus, and popular it was.
Wow.
1912. Peony flowered. This was another very popular. The colour, of course, made it popular. The form wasn't that great. Single dahlias were always about, and they did allow those in the shows. So it was ball dahlias, or show and fancy, and single. But then they started at the turn from 1890 into 1900s, they started to show other types, as you can see. This again was 1912. Now Stredwick was a dahlia firm near Hastings on the south coast, and I knew Stredwick, believe it or not. He was still about until the 1950s. He was an old man, but he was one of our most famous raisers of large dahlias. And he was like Eleanor and the Shants, Mr. and Mrs. Shants, were sort of what I could, or he's still going, but Eleanor's gone, but they were what I call people that visited them and asked them questions. They were authorities. And Stredwick was the most wonderful grower, and that of course is one of his. Turner, my father's firm eventually took over Turner's. They were in Slough in Buckinghamshire, and they raised some very nice. This is a very good, and I knew this dahlia, I grew it myself. I wasn't about in 1894, but that was a good show and fancy dahlia. Thank you. There's two more that Stredwick raised, and yes, he was prolific. There was some wonderful dahlias he raised. There's not many left now, of course. Now, I expect most of you have heard of Bishop of Llandau. Well, it was originally a charm dahlia. It was raised by Tresidder of South Wales in 1928, and that was one of the pictures. Well, later years, you'll see on the next picture, thank you, Anne, that's how it is now. And I took that picture, as you can see, in 2016. So just shows you. It then they then classed it, of course, as a proper peony dahlia. This is one of yours. Weight, 1924, Jersey Beauty, medium decorative. It's the most gorgeous dahlia. And I had stock in the National Collection, but I don't know whether it's still about. But to me, that blend of colour was striking.
So David, do you have different classifications? Like, I've never heard of medium decorative. We have formal decorative. Or is that
Yeah,
the
we
size?
only have decorative.
Okay,
We don't have informal and formal. We tried it,
okay.
and the exhibitors gave us a thick ear and said we just want them called decorative.
Okay.
So we have giant, large, medium, small and miniature, all decorative. They can be formal or informal, and there's more formal than informal, but that's how it is in the UK. Thank you. This one, Dahlia Dell, another American dahlia, 1929. This has grown a lot. The Dutch market it all the time in packets.
Yeah.
If you're lucky enough in the packet to get it, of course, it could be anything. Thank you. This is a French one, 1936. I've grown this one as well. I had the National Collection from 83 to 2000, and when I was collecting, I found nearly 2,000 named dahlias, all different. And this was one of those that it's still about, I think, but don't see it often. Thank you. This one, you know, you call it a large, we call it a giant. And it's grown as a giant by reducing the number of growing points, of course. Kid, 1940. This was always our biggest dahlia. Swan Island, I think, marketed, but whether it's the true stock or not, I don't know. But Brand of Australia raised these, and lots of other Croydons. Thank you. Another one of yours, Pape was a very big company in the States. And Halls of Heaven, if you've heard of them, they still grow this. Because people, especially ladies, love the dark colour. Thank you. So 1945, that was right. This was named after Mrs. Hester Pape. Papes themselves raised it in 47. It's not a very good picture, I'm sorry, but it gives you the idea. This was another Australian raiser, and after the war, of course, we'd lost a lot of dahlia stock and we had to grow food, but my father and others used to grow tubers between the rows of cabbages and potatoes and whatever, so they were able to keep some stock going. And but not long after the war, we started importing these dahlias, the American ones, Australia, New Zealand, to build up our stocks in the UK. So that was one. Thank you. Now you know this one, Simon. We grow it, and occasionally the stock breaks down, unfortunately. But our top exhibitors always manage to keep clean stock. They're very strict to rogue out anything that looks not right. virus. But yeah,
Sorry.
and of course, Norm Williams, 1937 Willow's Violet, still going strong, still shown in the top exhibits. Thank you. Now, I showed you earlier those rows of black and white mignon. Now, this is the nursery that did them. And the National Dahlia Show at the Crystal Palace, this is 1889. And so it's one of the earliest pictures I could find of the Dahlia exhibit. Thank you. Now, some of these are, most of the next ones were at the Royal Horticultural Society halls in Westminster in London. And you can see that this is 1928. It was shown in, the picture comes from our yearbook, 1929. I'm sorry these pictures aren't brilliant, but you can imagine the age they are, that I was lucky to find them. So. 1930. Advertising the show in 1931. So they paid these people probably a few pence to take their sandwich boards round parts of London. So.
It's a huge.
1932.
Did you have
You see the exhibits were totally different in those days. They were mainly displays, and at the back, of course, some of the tradespeople were beginning to do displays at the wall, along the walls. You'll see more in a minute.
David?
Thank you.
David, here. Did you have a depression during this time period?
A depression?
Yeah, like we
Oh
had-
yes, just
okay.
the same.
So people still,
But they still kept them going. Believe it or not, as well, they showed dahlias throughout the Second World War. How, I'll never know. I was a child, I was born in 37. And of course I never saw, my first dahlia show was 1947. Anyway, there you are. 1949. The exhibits, of course, were totally different by then. You had multi-vase, but they were sort of 6 palms or whatever, and so on. They were uniform. And there's some trade exhibits. Thank you. Dobbies of Edinburgh, who I worked for a while, they used to bring their dahlias down by rail from Edinburgh, and this was one of their displays, 1933 at Westminster. Thank you. That was, now Southport is still a big show in the UK, but it was even bigger in those days, and that was a dahlia display that was at the Southport show in 1935. Thank you. This was 1937, back at the RHS Hall, Westminster. Now, this was my father's exhibit. My family, Brown and Such of Maidenhead in Berkshire, and they won the Premier Award. It was a 40-foot long group. However many blooms, I wish I knew. That was the first show I ever went to. And from that time onwards, I was hooked on dahlias.
Know that feeling.
Thank you. Another view of it. But you can imagine the work that went into that. This, back in the 1800s, was the way they exhibited dahlias. They used the show and fancy types, especially on boards, with a tube the other side because the heads got too heavy for the stems. And sometime, I think in the 60s, they reclassified ball dahlias. But I actually, at that 47 show, saw dahlias grown on board. So the only time, and I think it was unique after the war, there weren't many. Thank you. Different designs of exhibiting. Bunch or spray of palms. Another of Stredwick's dahlias, Lord Roberts, and that's how they exhibited cactus in those days. Thank you. But these, of course, are the ones you saw earlier on the benches where they're sort of basket displays, and that was the predominant type in the shows up until probably the war. Thank you. But this one, you see, 1937, they were beginning to do multivars, but in that exhibit, 6 per vase, and we do 5 now, of course. Yeah. Thank you. That would be what we would call a vase or a vase of dahlias, 1938. Peony flower then had been classified, so your Bishop of Llandaff would now be a peony, but of course we had others. 1943, you see, in the war that was. As was this one. I think it's amazing that they could do that. Now, floral art in the UK was very, very strong after the war, right up until probably about the 1980s. This was 78, and they had loads of exhibits, loads of people, and it was quite a good arrangement. The men used to do the vases and the multi-vase classes, and their wives or partners used to do the floral art. We no longer, apart from baskets and one exhibit of a dahlia in a picture frame, we no longer have floral art, and I think it's a great pity. Because I mean, I think the work that goes into that is fantastic. Thank you. This is more like what we do now. This was 1993. This was in the north. We have the southern show is at the moment is at RHS Wisley. The northern show was always at Harrogate. It's since moved to Newby Hall, a stately home in Yorkshire, near Ripon. But this was a display one of the members did. Thank you.
David, what time of year do you have the shows in England?
The national main show in the south is usually the first week of September. And the second show, the northern show, is either the week after or sometimes 2 weeks after.
So
Depends how the calendar works.
Very much like Minnesota, I'm surprised.
That's 2018. And this is how they exhibit their dahlias now. These are giants, of course. We use tiered staging, and the exhibitors, this was 2010, I mean even that's 15 years old, but and we are unfortunately losing our top exhibitors by unfortunately them passing on, and there's not the moods of dahlias are changing because the main growers of dahlias these days are what I call garden dahlia people. The big exhibitors are gradually reducing. There's a few young ones who are coming on, but it's a lot less than it used to be. So this is how it is now, was, I should say, rather than now. Thank you. That's Harrogate in 2010. You can see...
Sorry. You can see what?
You can see that's water lilies, of course, and they do 5 of ours. Thank you. More giants and large. This was 2015. We moved the show from London to Shepton Mallet in Somerset, and then we moved it from Shepton Mallet in Somerset. The RHS, Royal Horticultural Society, incorporate our show now in their show. And so this is Wisley 2015. We have a pavilion where we do our show. That's just to give you a partial view of the pavilion. 2019, so we're getting a bit more modern, but there's still that sort of display. Small cactus. The pinky one in the middle, Kiwi Gloria, we rate as our best ever dahlia for exhibition. This is our current trial garden, the National Dahlia Society trial garden in Bramhope near Leeds in Yorkshire. And this is like your trial gardens. This is our main one.
Is it open to the public?
Sorry?
Is it open to the public?
It's open to the public, yes. It's a big municipal park, and the Leeds City Council kindly loan us an area, that area, to do our trials. Used to be at Bradford, Yorkshire, years ago, but it's nice there. Thank you. This is the Royal Horticultural Society Dahlia trials. The NDS used to be associated with it, and there were representatives from the NDS and the RHS, but the RHS now have taken it over. That's 2009. And they have what they call open ground trials and patio pot trials. That's 2013. They plant out 3 ground tubers and 3 plants in the pot. Thank you. This man was our president, Reginald Curry, from as you can see, 1913 to 1934. And he was instrumental. He was a great authority. He owned and his family owned Dyffryn Castle in South Wales, and he was the first man to conduct proper trials. And from then, dahlia trials in the UK have developed. But he was fantastic. I didn't know him, of course. Now, some of you, or some of the older members of you, would have known Ted Collins, and he was awarded your silver medal not long before he passed on. But he was also an author, a long-time secretary, but eventually became president. Thank you. Now, we had our centenary in 1981, as you can see, and that was the front cover of the special book that was produced. See, you've got the species there. You can see if you can work out, look at the orange
100.
dahlias, there's your 100. 100 years in dahlias. Now, this was one of your past presidents, and Stanley Johnson, past president of the American Dahlia Society. And that's my father. They tell me I look like him. But they had people from all over the world at the centenary, and they were all given medals, the foreign representatives, people from Australia, the Commonwealth, and America, and so on. Thank you. These are some of the exhibits. There was 100 bloom class, and one man was busy doing all this and setting it all out, and they said, "Jack, do you realize you've got 150 there, not 100? Now, this is a UK speciality. This is how we exhibit palms. And they're so uniform. And I had the doubtful pleasure of judging palms in London for over 20 years. But they were like drumsticks.
Yeah. All together.
Thank you. This was the Netherlands gold medal display at the centenary. They've always had island groups as opposed to wall groups. Thank you. This was a British grower, and he won the Premier Award for his exhibit. Thank you. Now, you've heard, of course, of most of you, I expect, Halls of Heaven. Well, this is the sort of exhibit they do. This was one of Dahlias and Chrysanthemums in 2010. But they've gone now more for Dahlias. This is a pure Dahlia. That was 2021. And this is their display field at their nursery, or part of it. Thank you. So it's a lovely display to go and walk around. Thank you. Geerlings of Holland, some of you may have heard. This was 1991. And they're still going. Cor Geerlings brought a big exhibit across from Holland to America one year. And I'm friendly with, is passed on now, he was 90, he was a lovely man. And his son Jan now runs it with his partner Ellie. And this is the sort of thing they grow, and I have gone and stayed with them several times. Thank you. Now, the man that raised the gallery dahlias, the happy single dahlias, the melody dahlias, you name it, were two brothers called Verwa, and one did the hybridizing and growing, the other did the marketing. And they've now sold the business, but they're still used as advisors. And the company is, I forget, it's just, I believe, either a bulb or a seed company. But you can see how colourful their trial grounds are. Now, I mentioned to somebody about dahlias in southern Germany. If you go through the Black Forest and go to Lake Constance, on the island of May now, they grow about 30,000 dahlias. and it's their particular wonderful thing they do. It's known in that area and beyond. Thank you. I was there in 2018, as you can see. It just goes on and on and on. There's so much. Thank you. Every type they grow, more cut flower types, of course, not giants, but singles and doubles. Thank you. If you ever go, it's well worth a visit, I can assure you. It's an island, but there's a bridge you can go across to. I just couldn't believe. I mean, I've seen dahlias over 70 odd years, but this display was mouth-watering. Little bit of self-indulgence. I started the National Dahlia collection in not quite, 1983, and it was awarded status as National Collection. It's the only one in the UK that's ever had that honour. So I was thrilled. I looked a bit more younger and healthier in those days, but still. I started it off in Oxfordshire. We used to plant out 2 of each one, and that was one of the fields we had. We had 2. Thank you. That was the.
They do.
In 1987, I did. This was the other place where we had the other field.
Oh, okay.
And I did this display at the National Dahlia Society, as you can see, in 1987, and we staged over 600 different dahlias. And
the room must have been really big, huh, David?
Sorry?
The room must be really big.
Yes. This is part of actually the Royal Horticultural Halls. So I had this 20-foot wall exhibit. 2 years ago, they had a Dahlia show at Stonehenge. In 1842, they had a Dahlia show for 4 days. It was privately owned, Stonehenge, in those days. And they had over 10,000 visitors. And English Heritage now manager, and they thought they would have, actually it was last year, not 2 years ago, they thought they would have a show there, and a lot of people came just to see the dahlias. There was an indoor display, and this was outside, and you'll see in a minute. Thank you, Anne. They did all these mannequins and displays outside. There you are. I wasn't present when they erected those.
David, can you go back to the ladies?
Thank you. There's a little bit more.
Can you go back to after this?
There, right
and
there.
then another one, another one before that.
Another one before that,
Yeah.
okay.
I didn't get that one. That one
We
is
got
the
5
one.
minutes. Are we almost done?
The one before that?
Okay.
Okay.
One of the Dahlia farms supplied all the flowers for these exhibits.
We good?
Yeah.
Thank you.
She's called Andy McDowell, and she calls her Dahlia farm Dahlia Beach.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of her.
Now, All I'm going to tell you is that I was there. And I really was. And the other person I know that's here today, and I doubt if there's any others, is Harry Rosetta. And he was there.
Where was this?
So there you are. I think there's just a couple of notes.
Oh, perfect. Good timing.
There's his website if you want to.
Now I've got some cards with the website on if you need it. The other thing is that Anne, you can have that
Okay.
stick. There's
You put it on the show website.
10 sheets like this with 3 sides, and if you belong to different societies, take one sheet, and then I'm sure that you're going to make these available, aren't you?
I think we plan to.
So you'll be able
Show
to.
website.
There's another set exactly the same, except the captions are actually underneath.
I think they have on the ADS website, they have members and non-members, but they have a special area for non-members that they can post those.
Okay.
So,
I'll tell my powers that be how to,
Yeah,
we'll figure
I
out how to
think-
coordinate it.
yeah.
Thank you, Anne, ever so much. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Thank you.
So that goes to Anne.